because a lot of things that we do with money is all about our own psychology. Of course, many people say, Carol, why do you want to do this and pick this topic? Because we all learn about money through our experiences. Because in school, as far as I can recall, there was never a subject about money. We have never been taught how to spend our money wisely. We have never been taught how to do a budget to keep track of our expenses. So there you go. Learning about money is all through your experiences. And being an expert in this subject, I'm still learning about my own money. Why? Because as we know, as we get older and older, sometimes we need more money because of our lifestyle, because of our commitment. So I learned through money is because during my younger days, I tend to spend a lot. Because there's always this thing say, when I have the money, why not enjoy life? So let me just share with you as I go through my presentation. All these are through my own experiences, and I went through a journey where I needed to know, to be an expert in this subject, I really want to know how can I then share knowledge, right? Teaching people to manage their money wisely. So there you go. First thing is, money. We are talking about a cashless society nowadays. If you go to China now, even if you have cash, I don't think you can pay to get something. Because why? In China, everyone use Alipay or WeChat to pay for things, for services. Now in Malaysia, we are also going through that kind of transition. With a touch and go card, you can almost do some of your shopping. And it doesn't help nowadays that the banks will ask you to open an account and have an online banking feature. And for me, going to the bank is a luxury for me. Why? Because going to the bank is to say hello to the bank teller. But how many of you here actually go to the bank to greet the bank teller? Because most of us will say, there's no time. Going to the bank is really a big hassle because I can't find a parking. So there you go. So we end up using online banking for most of our payment and receiving income. But because you're at this stage, you don't experience that because you don't earn a salary. What you get is maybe some allowances from your parents. But when you get into your working world, you'll soon realize that when your salary goes into the bank account, the next thing you know, your bank balance is zero. Because why? Many of us actually use this feature called auto deduction. And it just gets automatically deducted from our bank account to pay for our loans, to pay for our bills, and sometimes you even transfer money for our family or our children. So cashless society is for real. But I always say this, if we go into this society, imagine one day, we no longer know how it feels to touch a dollar note or even a coin that's made out of metal material. All we have is maybe just credit cards, plastic cards, or maybe just a password. But as we get older and older, I always say, their day will come that probably, like me, I can't even go online to do my online banking. Why? Because I cannot remember my password anymore. And what if I have this disease called Parkinson disease, where my fingers will start to tremor and I can't even press the keyboard? So how then can I make a payment? So what I'm sharing today is we have to be very mindful that our financial system currently and in the future may be causing a lot of challenges for us if we want to manage our money wisely. Now, next. Nowadays, they say, go digital. And in fact, the more we look into digital marketing, I think the more scarier it will be, right? Each time when you go to your Facebook, somehow or rather, there may be something that asks you to buy or to spend. And then going digital, another thing, like I said, you can't even feel that you're actually spending. Because why? A lot of us will start to pull out our credit cards, and for students, what do? You only need a debit card. And if you don't have a debit card, how do you spend the money? Chances are you ask your parents to do it. Again, I did mention right from the beginning, how we learn about money is through our experiences. And I always believe that part of knowing how to spend money wisely is through parenting, because there are families that actually they are very frugal. And they always discuss about making a decision. Let's say if they go for holiday, everyone sit down and discuss, can we afford to go for this holiday? But there are some who grow up in a family where topic of money becomes a taboo. It might even end up having arguments. And so again, like I said, if you start having this kind of payment mode, question is, how do we then sit down with our family, with our kids, to teach them how to manage money wisely? And as you know, I come from a background of an accountant. When I was doing my degree, I was taught how to prepare a profit and loss statement for a company, and I know how to prepare a balance sheet for a company. But the thing is, in our life, do we know how to prepare a profit and loss statement for our personal financial statement? Chances are we don't even think about it. Now, if we buy assets and we get into loans, do we actually sit down and prepare our own balance sheet? That are we having more liability than assets? Chances are we don't do that either. What we get is every month a credit card statement telling us how much we have spent and what's the minimum amount we have to pay. And one of the things that I've learned in life is credit card has become one of the most dangerous, financial tool that ever been created. And that's why a lot of people get into this credit card problem, and it creates a lot of financial distress. And so there you go, having credit card or plastic cards is actually not a very good idea. But if you do have it in your wallet, then I'd like to say, please use it wisely. Now let me just share with you about the psychological part of it. Now, I looked into this matter when I did my master's in counseling. That was many years ago. Because in my area of work, I often encounter people coming to me say, Carol, can you please teach me how to spend my money properly? But when I have a conversation with them, soon enough, I realize that people who have financial problems most of the time is not because they don't know how to spend their money properly, but they do have other issues that actually lead them to spending the money not properly. It could be also one of it, like the society. As you know, we know a lot about peer pressure. Even in your studies, I'm sure you face peer pressure. It's the same thing. The society that we live in actually sometimes influences how to spend our money. Now, advertisement is one of it. All right? And advertisement these days, they say good advertisement will lead you to feeling good. And when you feel good, you want to have that item. No difference from having your phone nowadays. That's the best way of how they will advertise their product. When it comes to your phone, what do? You just have to click the button, and there you go. You just have made a commitment to pay for something. Next, like I mentioned before, peer pressure. All of us actually have friends. Now, how many of us now, when we go out with friends, we just say, why don't we just go home and have some chit-chat? That's it, and we'll be happy about it. As far as I know, every time when I want to meet my friends, we end up having some place to have a few beers. We have some food, and end up paying a few hundred ringgit for the night. Other than that, peer pressure, what do we have? They call it keeping up with the Joneses. Means what? If your neighbor has a better car, chances are you may end up wanting to have a better car too. And the extreme will be you want to do better than your neighbors. Not realizing that whether you can afford it or not. Why? Because it's very easy to take a loan to buy a car. But of course, these days, they say we can Grab, so we don't need a car. So fine. Now the thing is, what are the other things that you want to keep up the Joneses with your neighbors? It could be a bigger house. It could be a better holiday. Because why? I notice every time when I meet up with my friends, sometimes we like to show off and show our friends how well we live our life through our holidays, through the experiences that we have. And so that's what I meant by peer pressure. Subconsciously, you may not realize it, but we are doing that. Shopaholics. Now, this is a behavior. We all know that it's not good to drink alcohol, but some become alcoholic. We all know that it's not good to have a cigarette, but some of it become addicted to cigarettes. We all know the bad stuff, but yet we want to get into it. Same thing with shopaholic is a disease, is an illness. Why? For me, when I talk about going into this counseling, I want to know when this person come to me and he end up with lots of debts, what is the reason, what are the reasons that this person become a shopaholic? So I will tell you why afterwards. Which I mentioned earlier, social media has become our part of our life. All right? So whether are we going to manage this well, I guess, again, is up to us individually. Online shopping. In fact, in my office, every day I have delivery boy coming to my office, non-stop, the whole day. And I start to ask my staff, I say, why is it that you want to have, do you buy things every day, the things that you need? Guess what? They said, not really, Carol. I just do it. Because why? When I'm too bored, I start to look at some of these shopping online sites. When I look good, I just click and then add to the cart. So the next thing I know, I end up spending and they deliver to the office. So again, this is something that we have to be mindful. In fact, nowadays, they say people do not go to shopping mall anymore to shop. People go to shopping mall to have a meal, to watch a movie. So that's why shopping malls these days are actually facing a lot of problem because the shops there no longer people go and buy. People end up buying over the internet. Yeah. So this is the part that I really want to share with you that throughout my research, in fact, when I was doing my master's, I did a thesis on spending behavior. And this is what I found out. All of us do not spend what we need and not what we want. In fact, what we want is actually our need. And why is it so? If you have seen this pyramid, it's called Maslows Hierarchy of Needs. We all have basic needs coming from our psychological needs, safety needs. Next, we have this part that is about love, sense of belonging, and our self-esteem. And of course, self-actualization at the end of the day. If I were to ask this question, every day when you come to school or you go to work, when you spend money on food, which part of the need are you fulfilling? From breakfast, lunch, to dinner. Some of it will say, I only eat when I'm hungry. But some of them say, no, I eat when I feel like eating. When I'm not happy, I will eat. If my boss gives me a tough time, I will eat. Or maybe a day where I have a good presentation, I win a tender or somebody praise me, I eat when I'm happy. And when we go back, when we eat our family. So if I were to say, track your spending on just food for a day, you will realize that you will end up fulfilling a few needs, few type of needs. So if I were to say then, based on those needs, can you then ask yourself, which part of the needs that you fulfill the most? And this is what I do with people who come to me when they want to manage their expenses. I will ask them to track for the month, record all the expenses they spend on food, and then identify the need. And for the people who are family, most of the money will go to the for the food will be for their family. Then I said, why? It's because I love my family, my kids. During the weekend, I want to take them out for good food. Not because they're all hungry, but because it's about family connecting together for a meal. So when I want to then help this person to, say, reduce their spending on food, what shall I do? So there has to be a strategy. Because I cannot just say, you got to stop taking your family out. Because if I do that, what will happen? The family will be very unhappy. So at the end of the day, our need is based on our perception. It's based on our own 5 senses. How we feel is based on what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we touch, and what we taste. I'm sure you do have experiences when you walk past a bakery shop, when you smell there's a really nice fresh bread, what will happen? You may just end up going into the shop and buy a loaf of bread. Like people who go for shopping, so to speak, window shopping. But sometimes they end up coming back with a few bags of things. Because as you walk around, you see something nice. Maybe something nice have your favorite color, and you think, that's what I want, and you end up buying it. So this is what I said. If you want to know how to spend your money wisely, first of all, we need to know ourselves. We have to be very aware of our own perception. Some of us are born visually. We are more into the visual part. When we see something nice, we like it. Some of us are born with a bit or more of the hearing. When we hear something nice, we like it and we buy. So that's what I said. From young until old, we will be in this kind of environment that we have advertisement that surround us. We give you that kind of, that touch our senses, be it our hearing, our visual, to lead us into spending the money. Now, if I were to then say, how then can I change my spending behavior so that I know how to spend wisely? First of all, this is what I normally apply. It is called the cognitive behavioral therapy. It's about from your brain, how we think, lead us how we feel, and lead us to how we behave. So if you were to want to change your spending problem, first of all, you must then say, what am I thinking all the time? And why do I have such thoughts? Once you change your thinking, chances are you change your feeling. And when you change your feeling, chances are you will change your behavior. Simple as food again. If I were to say, let's change your thought about taking your family out to eat for family bonding, what can you do? Maybe you say, this time I will not bring my family out for dinner. Probably we'll do something better. We may go to the park for a walk or spend time together doing something else, which may not be having a meal in an expensive restaurant. So this is where I always say, spending money is very easy because why? Money is just a piece of note or a coin, but it helps us to exchange for our feeling, our experience. Things that we don't need sometimes, we don't think that we don't need it because we always say, maybe I'll need it one day. That's why when you go home, take a look at your wardrobe, ask yourself, all the clothes that you have in your wardrobe, how many times have you worn them? Chances are you said, I even forgotten I have this piece of clothes. So there you go. What I'm trying to share today is very much on our own psychology, how we manage our own senses, how we manage our own thoughts, and how we manage our own feeling. Now, this is one example I can say. I can relate this very well. After a hard day's work, I will know what to do. I will call up my friends and say, let's go for a happy hour. And I'm sure nowadays my friend also say, how come I hardly hear from Carol anymore? Why? Because I would like to tell my friends, I've just changed my behavior by not calling my friends for happy hour, but instead I go home and watch a series of Korean drama. So this way, I can actually save my money in that sense. With that, I'd like to thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the talk.